In Burlington, Iowa, there is an assembly plant that will finish building machines during the second quarter of 2026, and then stop. About 200 people work there. The decision was finalized on the 4th of November 2025, after bargaining with the United Auto Workers. C&H, which owns Case, will keep an engineering and testing presence in the town, but the assembly line is done. That plant built Case light construction equipment, diesel and electric backhoe loaders, rough terrain forklifts, utility tractors. Burlington has been an industrial town on that stretch of river for a very long time, and the assembly work there has outlasted several owners and several company names. The people who will finish the last machines this quarter are, in a lot of cases, working the same floor their parents worked. The headline version of this story is a plant closure and a corporate villain. That version is wrong, and the real version is stranger and more useful, because nobody in this story did anything obviously wrong. The backhoe loader is dying, and American contractors killed it. Here are the two numbers that explain the entire closure, and they sit right next to each other in C&H's own account of the decision. Loader backhoe demand has fallen 47% since 2014. Over the same period, demand for skid steers and compact track loaders, which the company builds at other plants, rose nearly 70%. Almost half the market for one machine gone, and most of it did not disappear. It walked across the yard to a different machine. That distinction matters enormously, and it is the one the headline version misses. If demand had simply evaporated, this would be a story about a construction downturn, and the fix would be to wait for the cycle to turn. Demand did not evaporate. The same contractors kept spending the same money, and they spent it on a different shape of machine, which means no amount of waiting brings the backhoe line back. That is not a company abandoning a product. That is a company following its customers, arriving at a plant that no longer has enough work, and doing the arithmetic that follows. C&H said as much in its own explanation of the decision. Burlington had become the lowest utilized and most costly facility to maintain in the network. Underutilization is what a demand collapse looks like once it reaches a factory floor, and there is no version of running a plant at half capacity that survives a full cycle. To understand what was lost, you have to understand what the backhoe actually was, because it is not really a machine. It is a business model. A backhoe loader is a tractor with a loader bucket on the front and an excavator arm on the back. It digs, it loads, it backfills, it carries, and critically, it drives itself between jobs on the road under its own power. It is the only machine in the light construction catalog that can do all of that without a second machine or a lowboy, which is exactly why it became the default first purchase for a generation of small outfits. For a small contractor, that combination was the whole company. One machine, one trailer you did not always need, one operator, and the ability to turn up to a residential waterline job, dig the trench, set the pipe, backfill it, and load the spoil without a second machine ever arriving. For 2 generations, buying your first backhoe was the moment a man stopped working for somebody else. Before we go further, if you run the iron or turn the wrenches on it, subscribe and turn on the bell. Every trade has a machine like that, and the machine matters out of proportion to its specifications because of what owning it means. For a while in this country, the backhoe was how a man with a license and a bank appointment turned himself into a contractor. That is why a plant closure like this reads differently to the people who used to buy from it than it does in a market report. It is worth understanding why that particular machine carried that role. A backhoe was affordable enough that a working man could finance one, versatile enough that it could do an entire small job alone, and road legal enough that it did not require a truck and trailer to reach the next customer. Nothing else in the catalog did all three. So what replaced it, and why did contractors move? The compact track loader and the mini excavator, working as a pair. And the reason is not that the backhoe got worse. The backhoe is the same competent machine it always was. What changed is the ground it works on, and the jobs it works for. American construction shifted over that decade toward residential, site development, and utility work in built-up areas, and away from the open rural digging where a wheeled backhoe is at its best. The machine did not get worse. The jobs moved indoors, so to speak, and the machine could not follow. A compact track loader spreads its weight across rubber tracks, rather than concentrating it on 4 tires. On soft ground, on turf, on a finished residential lot, that difference is the difference between a job you can take and a job you have to refuse. Tracked machines go places wheeled backhoes cannot, and they do less damage getting there. Then there is the attachment ecosystem, which is where the economics really moved. A modern compact track loader takes a universal coupler that runs augers, breakers, brooms, mulchers, grapples, forks, trenchers, cold planers. One machine becomes 8 machines, and each attachment costs a fraction of a second machine. A backhoe is a backhoe. It is very good at being a backhoe. There is a hard commercial logic in that comparison. A contractor buying a compact track loader plus attachments is buying optionality, and optionality is what lets a small outfit bid on work it has not done before. A backhoe lets you bid on the work you already do, and in tight urban work, the pair beats the single machine on pure logistics. A mini excavator swings inside its own footprint against a fence line. A backhoe needs room to set up, and room is the one thing a residential lot in a built-up area does not have. Add it up, and the contractor did not make a sentimental choice. He made a fleet decision, repeatedly, across an entire industry, over roughly a decade. 47% down, nearly 70% up, same customers. Those two numbers moving in opposite directions over the same period is about as clean a piece of market evidence as this industry produces. There is no ambiguity in it, no seasonality to argue about, and no way to blame a competitor. Now here is where it lands, on a town rather than a market. Burlington sits on the Mississippi in the southeast corner of Iowa. A plant employing 200 people in a town that size is not one employer among many. It is the payroll that supports the tire shop, the diner, the machine shop that does small subcontract work, and a school district that budgets on a rateable base. None of those people made a bad machine. The line in Burlington built exactly what it was asked to build, to the standard it was asked to build it, for a market that quietly stopped placing orders. That is what a category death looks like from the inside. Not a scandal, a slow subtraction, and then a date. The subtraction is also why nobody intervened. A 47% decline over 11 years is roughly 4% a year, which in any single year looks like a soft market rather than a structural collapse. Every year there was a reasonable case for waiting to see whether it recovered. It never did, and the case for waiting was reasonable right up until the year it was not. And it is worth being careful about where the blame sits, because the easy target here is wrong. Nobody at CNH decided to hurt Burlington. The contractors decided, one purchase at a time, over 10 years, and every one of those decisions was rational for the man making it. There is a detail here that most coverage misses, and it is the one that matters if you are trying to work out what happens next. The winners in the category that replaced the backhoe are not the companies you would have predicted 20 years ago. Between May of 2025 and April of 2026, the best-selling new financed compact track loader in the United States was a Kubota. Kubota led the category outright at 27.1% of the market, with the SVL 75-3 as the single best-selling model in the country. John Deere finished fourth, with sales declining. Caterpillar, and this is the part that keeps the story honest, grew its compact track loader sales 18.8% year over year on the back of its new 255 and 265 models. So the machine category that replaced the American backhoe is currently led by a Japanese company that started out making cast iron water pipe in 1890, with an American manufacturer growing fast behind it and another American manufacturer slipping. The category death and the category leadership are two separate stories, and only one of them is about anybody making a mistake. Caterpillar, growing 18.8% in compact, is the part that should stop anybody who wants a simple decline narrative. When this company commits to a category with a payback it can see, it competes hard and it wins ground. That is the same company, in the same year, that lost the locomotive decade. There is a lesson buried in this for anybody who runs a fleet, and it is not the obvious one about buying tracked machines. It is that a machine category can die while every individual machine in it is still good. The Backhoe did not fail on reliability, on price, or on capability. It failed because the work changed shape around it, and the work changes shape faster than a plant can be repurposed. Subscribe if you want more of these. This channel covers the real story behind the machines, the part the dealer never puts in the brochure. Which means the question worth asking about your own iron is not whether it is a good machine, it is whether the jobs you will be bidding in 5 years still have the shape this machine was designed for. That is an uncomfortable question, because the honest answer usually involves admitting your work has already changed and your fleet has not caught up. Most fleets are a record of the jobs a company used to bid, bought at the moment those jobs were at their peak. The men in Burlington building backhoe loaders in 2014 were building a good machine for a market that was already, quietly, walking away. Nobody sent them a memo. The orders simply arrived a little thinner each year, until a number in a spreadsheet crossed a line and somebody in an office set a date. That plant closes this quarter. The engineering and testing stay in town, which is a real thing and worth saying, but the line that built the machine, that started 10,000 small contracting businesses in this country, goes quiet, and the machine that replaced it wears a badge from Osaka.